Hey, True Believers, Englentine here with another episode of Comic Book Origins, where we take a look at the very first appearance of any comic book superhero, villain, or team. This time around, we're looking at Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter. Yeah, first appeared in 1974 in a novel written by one Jim Dennis O'Neil. Yeah, we know him as Denny O'Neil. In 1975, he adapted it for comic books. He was a thief who decided to learn how to do martial arts and then used his powers for good until the New 52, where Jeff Lemire said, nah, I think he'd make a better villain. And we have Ricardo Diaz Jr., and so there you go. He actually got his own appearance on Arrow as well, portrayed by Kirk Acevedo, going by the name of the Dragon. And a big old shout out to Jim Sorensen for going over to Ko-Fi and commissioning this video. Thank you very, very much for that. I apologize for all tardiness, and that's why I'm kind of discouraging them right now. However, Ko-Fi is still open if you want to drop $1 in the till. That is my little pitch. Anyway, gang, with all that aside, let's jump into Richard Dragon's first comic book appearance, Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter #1. As always, we start with the cover, and I got to tell you, this does everything right and wrong. There's too many things on the cover, too many people on the cover for there to be any real focus. It's just a clutter. It really is. It's just a mess of a cover. And I got to say, it might not be the best of the 1970s covers. It's just the most 1970s cover in the 1970s. So we do get a splash page open. Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter. See them, two vastly different young men locked in a bond of friendship, forged by the greatest of the martial artists, destined to forsake the comforts of ordinary human creatures for a dark destiny of danger. No fighting art is unknown to them. They have mastered karate, aikido, jujutsu, not as ends in themselves, but as steps on a path that can lead to greatness or sudden, horrible death. And then we get the title, Coming of a Dragon. And we do see that it's credited to Jim Dennis and not Denny O'Neil, so that's something to be noted. It begins some 15 years ago near the city of Kyoto. A lone young man glides noiselessly through the whispering Japanese night as he comes upon an 11-year-old Buddha statue with no guards, no alarms, no sweat, he says as he begins to steal it. When an older gentleman comes out, knowing his name, it surprises Richard Dragon, and he says, "Were the statue you are holding mine, I would willingly give it to you. However, it is not mine to give, and I must ask you to leave it." Of course, Richard, not knowing who he's up against, says, "No way, Pops, do yourself a favor and step aside." I regrettably refuse. And yes, I'm going to forego any attempt to do any accent because that will sound really, really racist. So Richard Dragon decides he's going to fight the old man. The old man puts him down pretty easy, and he says, well, I'm a student of all martial arts, including boxing. Everything has its place and can teach a man to know himself. And that's when Richard Dragon decides that he's going to murder the old man. Pops out a knife, chases after him. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. So Richard basically gets his ass handed to him by the sensei and throws him onto the ground. We hear, woo-wee, you ain't much for a soft landing, are you, friend? Mr. Richard Dragon, allow me to introduce my pupil, Benjamin. Howdy, Rich. I got some top-notch tea brewing. What say we scarf up a couple of cups? I get tossed around like a beanbag, and then a refugee of a minstrel show offers holy Toledo. Oh, shit. They did not just frickin' say that. Oh, my. This is Denny O'Neil, ladies, and oh, my God. Okay, this is like ultra-liberal Denny O'Neil. Oh, my gosh. Oh, Jesus, Lord in heaven. A refugee from a minstrel show. Really there, Jim Dennis? Okay, I got pride and it won't allow me to accept anything from an ape. Alrighty, guy. Is this guy redeemable? Here we go. I'm going to shower those pearly... Jesus, Lord in heaven. I'm going to shower these pearly teeth all over the dirt. You do know that I'm... Jesus, okay, yeah, all right. And he says he's going to shower his pearly teeth all over the dirt, to which Ben says, I do believe you're the excitable type, instead of, like, you know, mopping the floor with him. Tells you that the sensei is teaching patience above all. That doesn't mean that Ben doesn't get off a shot. He does throw him into a pond and says he needs to cool off, and then asks, you ready for that tea, Rich? What kind of guys are you? What kind of place is this? A school, partner. The Yo-sensei teaches a few of us to become ourselves, better than ourselves, matter of fact. The goal is wisdom. The path is discipline of the martial arts. You can become one of us if you choose. Wait a minute. I come to steal, and you're asking me to stay as a student? You bear a great burden of hate, yet beneath this terrible load I sense a core of goodness. More, I sense a possible destiny of greatness which we may be able to cultivate. Richard tells him that he has no friends or family. Ben says, you could have here, Rich. He says, okay, when do we begin? The sensei says, you already have. So it began, and for the next 6 years, the tormented youth that had been Richard Dragon began a gradual transformation, studying the fighting arts and much more the discipline of the Western world, like history, philosophy, and science, the secrets of the East, yoga, the ancient texts. All of life's secrets can be found in Downward Facing Dog. So one day the sensei asks Richard out for tea, and he says, you know, why have you summoned me here? And he says that on the morrow you and Benjamin will depart to meet whatever the world holds for you. I sorrow for you both. You are dearer than sons to me. That basically he has nothing else to offer them, and they need to go and find their destiny. I am certain you are both strong. I cherish the belief that you are wise also. Sensei Rich, come here, I got something to show you, says Benjamin. Those 4 dudes in the Jeep, they've been sitting under these trees for an hour, and I am getting vibes of pure nasty. For my suggestion, I say we go on and rap friendly like. Sounds reasonable, master. You have my permission. Now, why is Benjamin talking like that? I mean, even Richard now is being written. I'm telling you, man, there are some, not even undertones, they're just tones that do not sit right with the character of the Bronze Tiger here. Okay, we get a little slang from Richard Dragon as they approach the gentleman in the Jeep, saying, if you're lost, we'd be happy to direct you. And the gentleman in the Jeep says, and if we're not lost, you'll use force? Not unless you can't start it. Of course, the guys step out of the Jeep. They seem to be dressed in kung fu gi as well, so I guess they were looking for something, except for a couple of businessmen. Anyway, it looks like both Richard and Benjamin make short work of the group. And after they beat up all the guys, they go over to the man in the suit still sitting in the car, and O-sensei comes up and says he knows him, and the guy's like, yeah, he used to be a part of the organization I work for. I'm a recruiter for something called GOOD. What the initials stand for doesn't matter. I want you guys to join the organization. And Benjamin's like, man, I don't want to join no organization, man. Not even to stop slavery? And Benjamin asks, slavery? Yes, not every corner of the world is enlightened. Slavery exists in the Sudan, among other places. I have a photo of the kingpin in the international slave trade, an Afghman who calls himself Aki. We would like to question him. With the information we can extract from him, we can cripple his despicable business. And maybe cripple him in the process. Please, we are never crude. We merely wish you to deliver him to us unharmed. Master, will you grace us with advice? When a worthy cause speak to the superior man, he answers, does this cause speak to you? Plenty. Okay, Mr. Ling, I don't care a whole lot for your style. You do a lot of smirking, but count me in. When do we begin? In the morning. Your instructions will be waiting at the airport. Wise old Chinese man, jive-talking black guy, slave-trading Middle Easterner. I think we're getting a hat trick of racial stereotypes. Next, we need the white savior. They arrive at their destination. I'm telling you, the first 3 panels of this issue reads like that little red dot flying around the Indiana Jones map. And they finally arrive and they say, Rich, lest I'm mistaken, we won't have to search for the Aki dude. That's him, right? Looks like it, Ben. He ain't got any bodyguard shortage, has he? No, and they're armed to the teeth. Come on, let's follow. Woo-wee! The dude lives in a fort. Obviously, we can't fight our way to him. I am praying that at some point in time, old Jim Dennis has Benjamin go, woo-wee, yo, Jim, that's a bad outfit. God dang it, man. So it's proven that Jim Dennis has seen Star Wars, as we see the big plan is to have Benjamin try to sell Richard to the slavers. Unfortunately, the guy says he is prime. He will fetch a nice price at the market, yes, and the black who brought him is valuable too. So seize them and lock them in the pens. Tomorrow they'll add to my wealth. It is a hellhole, the air thick with stench. The pitiful moaning creatures in the cages ravaged with disease, miserable beyond comprehension. These are the slave quarters, and this is where Aki's henchmen bring Richard and Benjamin. Benjamin says he feels like being sick, but Richard has a plan. He put a lockpick under his manacle, and he unlocks the door, giving everything to Benj. Says, hey, you take care of the slaves. Two guys come saying, hey, the slaves are escaping. One says, they'll escape to death. And they begin to shoot at Richard, but he's too fast for them, making sure that their bullets miss their target. After knocking the two guards out, Rich yells, hurry, Ben, those shots will bring the rest of Aki's mob. The deed is done, Rich. Like the tide itself, they surge forth, insane from the hunger for freedom. They should create enough confusion for us to reach Aki. I feel rotten, Rich. We're using those poor folks in a good cause to prevent greater misery. Small comfort. Shh, we've got more playmates, he says as we see more guards run down the stairs. So the two heroes disperse a couple other guards, and with the instincts born of the O-sensei's training, they dash through the shadowy corridors and... 2 will get you 5, friend. Aki's behind that door, Rich. And 5 will get you 10. We're not welcome there. In that case, we'll have to invite ourselves. Right, ready, 1, 2, kia! And they're visited by a crowded room, none of whom apparently is carrying guns like the guards near the slave. You would think Aki's guards, at least one of them would have a gun. Anyway, not on this page anyway. Ah, I believe we are visited by the cause of the trouble outside. Yeah, and just maybe we'll cause some trouble inside. We're taking us with you, Aki. My personal bodyguards, the fiercest in the nation, will disagree. Slice them to bits! As one of Aki's thugs move forward and are met by a devastating counterattack. For these two have been taught by the greatest of martial artists, and their skill is virtually boundless. Together they stand, Benjamin Stanley, once of Harlem, and the fiery youth who calls no place home, Richard Dragon. The henchmen, fearful, decide that these aren't human. These are devils, not men. They are clothed in flesh. They breathe. They live so they can die. See to it. In a blind panic, the remaining bodyguards charge. You've done more than your share of the scrapping, Rich. I'll take these 3. With a single magnificent sidekick, Benjamin finishes this combat. Almost. For a vice of sheer terror grips the slave trader, he snatches up a pistol, steadies his trembling hands, and fires straight into Benjamin. Ben! Richard Dragon yells, and every trace of humanity drains from the dragon's face as he gazes at Aki with empty eyes. And as Aki, now insanely fearful, triggers wild shots, Dragon seems to levitate and drives into what the fuck just happened. Okay, let's not do that again. And as Aki, now insanely fearful, triggers wild shots, Dragon seems to levitate and drives into the slaver with juggernaut force. Aki's falling form drops into the vengeful Mao, and his victims become his executioners. Ugly. They aren't leaving much for the Undertaker, are they? As the On-sensei says, a man's actions are the architects of his reward. You okay, Ben? Yeah, he only nicked me. Rich, a question. How you feel about what happened today? We're changed men, Ben. We'll never be the same again. We've taken the first step on a long path, and I'm not sure where it'll lead, but I am sure of this. We can never turn back. So there you go, gang. That is the very first appearance of Richard Dragon. It's also the first appearance of Bronze Tiger, but I'm going to be doing a little something different with him. What did I think about it? I thought it was kind of fun. Oh my gosh, were there flaws though, especially, and I'm not someone who really speaks about this kind of thing, but like I said, you have the wise old Chinese guy, you have the, you had the jive talking black guy, a lot of stereotyping going along in this one. Not bad. I wouldn't have minded checking out the rest of the story. It's readily available. I mean, this is not a hard book to find, to tell you the truth. Overall, I guess a C+. You know, not great, but it ain't bad either. So I could see why some people can become Richard Dragon fans. Anyway, if you like the video, just click like, share, subscribe. Also, don't forget to ring that notification bell, making sure that your notifications are actually on for Google and for YouTube. And if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi, drop $1 in the till, helps keep the lights on and helps keep making videos for you. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.